This video is prepared by Grecienne Misquitta on chapter number 4 of the subject History for class 9th, part 1.
Welcome students. Today we will be looking at another chapter in history, that is economic development. Today in this chapter we are going to cover the following topics: mixed economy, 5-year plan, goals of plan, first 5-year plan, second 5-year plan, third 5-year plan, and the fourth 5-year plan. Let's start with the basic question of what is an economy? An economy is a system in which economic activities such as production, distribution, exchange of goods and services along with social welfare takes place within a country. In order to understand the type of economy we adopted, let's look forward to the different types of economy. First is the capitalist economy. Second is the socialist economy. And third is the mixed economy. Moving on to the first type of economy, that is the capitalist economy. Capitalist economy is also known as private economy, in which private individuals own production and distribution. Socialist economy is also known as common ownership or collective ownership, where the government owns and controls production and distribution for the welfare of the society. And the third type is the mixed economy. Mixed economy is variously defined as an economic system blending elements of capitalist and socialist economy, in which free markets exist along with government interventions. Some examples of mixed economy in present day is Russia, China, Finland, etc. So, after independence, our Prime Minister Pandit Nehru decided to adopt mixed economy for the growth and development of our economy. Hence, India decided to adopt mixed economy. Mixed economy also has 3 parts, that is the public sector, the private sector, and the joint sector. Let's look forward to the meaning of these sectors. The public sector. The public sector is usually comprised of industries and organizations that are owned and operated by national, state, or local government. We may have come across these industries. Some of the examples are the Indian Oil, MTNL, ONGC, Bharat Petroleum, and many more. The next sector, that is the private sector. The private sector is usually referred to a part of country's economy which is run by private individuals and company. The government supervises and controls them too. For example, some consumer goods. There are examples which you can relate to: Dove, Red Label, banks like HDFC. The third sector, that is the joint sector. Joint sector industries are owned jointly by the government and private individuals. who have contributed to the capital, as mixed economy is a combination of both capitalism and socialism. Joint sector is a combination of both public sector and private sector. Some examples of joint sector are the Hindustan Unilever Limited, Citibank, Johnson's and Johnson. So basically, for the smooth functioning of a mixed economy, it is very necessary for communication as well as coordination between the public sector as well as the private sector. A mixed economy cannot ignore the profit motive, entrepreneurship, or the time bound planning that comes along with it. A mixed economy also naturally tends to give priority to national interests, such as the defense industry, scientific research, education, roads, railways, and waterways, including the seaport as well as the airport. Not many industrialists are keen to invest in these areas because there is no immediate profit, as these are long term development projects. Hence, these industries are financed by the government itself. The government takes the initiative to finance these projects. So, students, could you name some industries or companies of India? Any industries or companies, large scale, small scale industries. And if you could name those industries, do you know about the history of those industries? Well, I have chosen three industries to talk about to you today, which were established in India, starting off with Raymond. The Raymond Company was incorporated as Raymond Woolen during the year 1925 in the area around Thane Creek. Currently, the company comprises of three business divisions such as textiles, engineering, and aviation. The next company I would like to talk about is the Tata Group. Now, the Tata Group is an Indian multinational company, but it is also an oldest company. It was opened up and founded in the year 1868 by Jamshedji Tata, after which this company gained a lot of international recognition after purchasing a lot of global companies across the world. Whereas the last company I would like to talk about is Amul. There are lots of products of Amul in the market today. Whereas this company also was founded in the year 1946 in Gujarat. See, all these companies have grown over time and how they have played a major role in the growth and development of our economy. I mentioned the three industries before to make you realize that the development of industries didn't take place over a decade ago or after independence. They were all set up before independence. There were different industrial policies that came into being after independence. Let's look at the first industrial policy of 1948. This policy emphasized and gave importance to economy of continuous increase in production and its equitable distribution, and pointed out that the state or government must play progressive role in the development of industries. The second industrial policy of 1956 focused on arms and ammunitions and the defense equipment, along with iron and steel, atomic energy, air transport, railway transport, aircraft, etc. The third policy of 1973. Now, what was so different about this industrial policy? Well, this policy focused on speeding of economic development. It identified high priority industries with investment from large industrial houses and foreign companies were permitted. Now, these large industries were permitted to start operations in rural and backward areas with a view to developing those areas and enabling growth of small industries around them. The basic feature of this policy was to expand the small scale and cottage industry in India, as well as special legislation was made to protect cottage and household industries which were introduced. Another act came into form during that time known as FERA, which means Foreign Exchange Regulation Act. Now, this act was introduced by the government due to severe crunch of foreign exchange that was taking place during the 1970s. Now, let us look at the next topic, that is the 5-year plan. Let's look at what is this 5-year plan. The British rulers exploited India economically. There were many problems that India faced after independence, such as poverty, unemployment, low standards of living, population growth. We were also backward in the field of science and technology, along with education and knowledge. Production was also less in the field of agriculture and industries, as well as in order to boost our production, the Planning Commission of India was created on 15th March 1950, and the chairman of this commission was a Prime Minister Nehru. It adopted the 5 years plan. Now, the 5-year plan was first implemented by Joseph Stalin in the Soviet Union in 1928. The whole and sole purpose for Stalin creating this 5-year plan was to centralize and integrate the national economic progress. India also formulated its 5-year plan for the very same reasons, which included development in rural as well as agriculture, improving the standard of living. It also focused on the development of industries as well as people's participation in the implementation of this 5-year plan. There were some fundamental principles of planning. First was the equal distribution of the resources of the country, as well as proper use of human resource to fulfill the needs of the people. There was also a goal set up in order to achieve success in this planning, which are mentioned in the goals of plans. Let's look at what these goals of plans mentioned. The first being increase in national income. The first goal was to increase in national income. But what does it mean by national income? National income refers to the money value of all the goods and services produced in a country during a financial year. Thus, to increase the national income, one had to increase the overall production of goods and services in the country. Now, the second goal was the development of basic industries. To bring about industrialization in India was to focus on our small scale and cottage industries, along with medium production industries, for rapid growth and development in the industrial sector. The third was to increase in natural agricultural production. Now, to increase the production in agriculture so that the country becomes self reliant and self sufficient, at least in food grain production. This would be possible only through the development in the field of agriculture. The fourth goal was to increase employment opportunities. Using manpower to the fullest in order to ensure good use of human resources was necessary to increase the employment opportunities in our country. Now, the fifth goal was to remove unequal distribution of wealth. Distribution of equal earnings and wealth, and to remove the inequality in income and wages among the workers and other factors of the society, it was necessary that there had to be equal distribution of wealth. The next goal was to maintain stable prices for commodities. Price stability means avoiding both long term inflation and deflation. It also helps in achieving high levels of economic activity as well as employment. The next goal was family planning. India was the first country in the world to have launched a national program for family planning in 1952. Over the years, the program underwent many changes in terms of policy and program implementation. The meaning of family planning is on the overall development of family and to curb population growth. Well, the other goal was to improve the standard of living. So, what does it mean by standard of living? Standard of living refers to the necessities, comforts, and luxuries which a person or a group of persons who is bound to enjoy. As you know, that India was facing the problem of poverty, and thus it became very necessary to improve the standard of living. Well, the next one was to develop social services. I think by now you all must have understood what is the meaning of social services. Well, the meaning of social services could also be called as the social sector development, which included education, health, social security, housing, etc. The last goal was to have a self-sufficient economy. So, a self-sufficient economy basically means a country which can produce its own goods and services using its own resources without trading with other countries. These goals were set in order to be achieved through the 5-year plan. The first 5-year plan was implemented in the year 1951 to 1956. This plan laid the foundation of economic development in India. Its main focus was on the agricultural development of the country. It also focused on the social development, irrigation and flood control, transport and communication. This plan was successful and achieved growth rate of 3.6%. That was more than its target. Now, the second 5-year plan began soon at the end of the first 5-year plan. That is from the year 1956 to 1961. The main focus of the plan was on the industrial development of the country. There were different iron and steel companies that were set up at Durgapur, Bhilai, as well as chemical fertilizer plants at Sindri, the shipbuilding factory at Vishakhapatnam, and you must have heard about the Bhakranangal Dam, along with other dams were built for agricultural purposes during that period. This plan was again successful and achieved a growth rate of 4.1%. The next third 5-year plan came into being from 1961 to 1966. This plan was also called the Gadgil Yojana. It aimed at bringing balance between industries and agriculture. The main target of this plan was to make the economy independent and reach self-active position of takeoff, as well as its focus was on other areas such as removal of poverty, development in transport, and expand employment opportunities. Now, as this plan could not be achieved because this period also faced intense famine and due to China war, the plan could not be successfully achieved as the focus was on handling and tackling the famine issues. After the third 5-year plan, the 3 1-year plans were implemented in order to achieve what could not be achieved in the third 5-year plan. The last 5-year plan which we are going to talk about is the fourth 5-year plan. This plan started from the year 1969 to 1974. The two main objectives of the plan was growth with stability and progressive achievement of self-reliance. This plan failed due to the Bangladesh war and the burden that fell on our economy. During this tenure of the 5-year plan, 14 major banks were nationalized in the country, as well as the Indian economy suffered due to the pay raise of government and railway servants and rise in the prices of petrol in the international market. As you can see, the progressive state of the 5-year plans and the different goals that were set in order to achieve these plans. So today, students, we looked at mixed economy along with the meaning of economy and the different types of economy, as well as the parts that come under mixed economy, that is public sector, private sector, and the joint sector. We also looked at the implementation of the 5-year plan.
So students, let's have a quick revision of what we learned today. Let's see if we can answer some of these questions. The very first question of what is mixed economy and what are the 3 parts that come under mixed economy? Well, I'm sure that by now you have your answer. Mixed economy is a combination of capitalism and socialism, as well as the three parts that come under mixed economy is the public sector, the private sector, and the joint sector. The joint sector is the combination of the public sector and the private sector. Now, let's see the second question. Was it necessary to have an industrial policy? Yes, well, you are right. It was necessary to have an industrial policy. In order to boost our economic development, there had to be a growth in our industries as well as development in our small scale industries and cottage industries. I'm sure you all must have got the same answer. Moving on to the third question. Why was the 5-year plan implemented? Yes, you are right. So the 5-year plan was implemented because our economic development post independence was very slow. There were lots of problems that our country was facing economically. There was poverty, there was low standard of living, unemployment, and many more. Hence, 5-year plan came into implementation under the chairmanship of our Prime Minister Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru. Moving on to the fourth question. Why was the first 5-year plan directed towards agriculture? Well, the production was less in the field of agriculture and industry. Hence, in order to boost our economic development, it was necessary to grow our agricultural industry towards agricultural development. The fifth question. What were the limitations that occurred in the third 5-year plan? Well, you all know that the third 5-year plan began in the year 1961 and went on to 1966. But there were some problems that came in the third 5-year plan during that period. There was major famine, right? As well as there was the China war. Hence, a lot of our economy was drained due to these two problems. And we started off with the 1-year plan for 3 years, which extended our third 5-year plan up to 1969. So children, I hope your doubts are clear and I hope you could answer these questions as well. Well, that's all for today and thank you for being so patient and attentive for this session.